So now we're going to look at quartiles. Now, quartiles are measures of distribution. Now, you hear the word quartile, it actually has something like 4 in it, because we have a quadruplet. I think quadruplet means if you have like 4 children, it's like triplets, but for 4. Then quadrangle. Then very many. So I think it makes sense that quo means 4. Now, if I have this box and I want to divide it into 4 parts, how many points should I draw? How many lines should I draw to divide this into 4 parts? Now, note if I draw, if I let me start from here. If I have this and I want to divide it into 2, I draw one line. So I have this and this, so I divided it into 2 by drawing one line. So if I want to divide it into 3, I draw 1, 2. So this I drew 2 lines. Does that make sense? Yeah, we have 1, 2, 3. Meaning if I want to divide this thing into 4, I have to have 4 points. I have to have 3 points. If I want to divide it into 4, so I have this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So you see I've divided it into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have these lines I've drawn. This is line 1, this is line 2, and as you can see, line 2 divides this thing into 2. This is line 3. Yeah, this is not a line, but this is the end of this thing it marks for. But these are the main things we have. Now, remember when we were finding the median. Okay, before I go to that. Now, this point we did fractions. This is covering a quarter, right? This point is covering 2 out of 4, which can be reduced to a half. This point is covering 3 out of 4, and this point is covering 4 out of 4, which is not even close because this is 1. So you realize we have 2 most important points, this one and this one. Now, this is called Q1. This first line that divides called Q1. The second line is called Q2. This third line is called Q3. This fourth line is called Q4. Now, note Q4 is not relevant because it's representing everything. Does that make sense? It's representing everything. Q2 is the median. Remember when we were finding the median, we said n out of 2. I don't know if you don't remember this, first go look at our video, the previous video where I did the mid-mode, average, everything. Now, remember we talked about n out of 2 and we're finding the median. Now, similarly here, this Q2 represents the median, like the value in the middle. Remember, I talked about something like that, n out of 2. Now, for Q1, we shall have to say a quarter n. The formula is the exact same formula for median, but it's a quarter n. Even for Q3, we shall just say 3 out of 4n. Now, when we are looking at the ogive, I'm going to ask how we can find the median and even these quartiles from the ogive, or the cumulative frequency distribution curve. Now, so how do I find the Q1 first quartile? It's going to be just quoting the formula. It's the same formula as one for median. That's why I told you mastering this formula is going to make your life easy. Then I just say this is a quarter n minus a cumulative frequency before, right, by the frequency within times c. In the exercise, I have, I think, numbers where we did this, so you will follow through. So Q2 would be the median. I'm not going to do Q2. Then Q3 would be L1 plus. Now here, instead of us having a median class, what would be a median class is when we get a quarter n. When you get a quarter n, the value just above a quarter n is going to be the cumulative frequency value just above a quarter. Let's say I get 20. The value just above 20 in the cumulative frequency curve is going to represent the class we are going to pick out all these values from. Then Q3 is going to be, this is 3 out of 4n minus cumulative frequency before out of the frequency within times c, which is the class interval. So this is how we find the Q1 and Q3. Now, there's something called the interquartile range. How do we find the interquartile range? We are going to say this is going to be equals to Q3 minus Q1. Then the semi-interquartile range is going to be Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2. Now, what you should note is sometimes they can tell you to pick these quartiles Q3 and Q1 from the ogive. You pick them from the ogive, and then maybe if you want to find the interquartile range, you just put here, and then you get that. So for now, I can say we are done with the quartiles. However, I think just for clarity, I'm going to pause the video and do the question we've been using for media and mode. I'm going to find the Q1 and the Q3, then I'll play after phone that. So just for us to follow through. Okay, now we are going to look at, as we had promised, we're going to look at an example that's going to be specific to quartiles, finding quartiles. Now, I'm going to pause this and draw the table. We're going to include the max, column for max. Going to include a column for frequency, a column for cumulative frequency, column for the class interval, and a column for the class boundaries. So let me do that and so we will continue. Alright, now we've drawn the table. I think this is now familiar. If you've been following through, this should be very familiar with you now. If this is the first video you're watching, you can go and watch the video where we introduced the grouped data. We talked about how to find all of these. Now we're going to look at quartiles. So we said we have Q1, Q2 we said is the same as the median, and we have Q3. So we said Q1 is equals to L1 plus N out of 4 minus cumulative frequency before, so the frequency within times this. This was this. Yeah, times C. So hopefully by now you've mastered. So we're going to first look at Q1. I may not rewrite this because of the space. I don't want to make this video very long. So we are going to say what is N out of 4. We said N is the total, and we know that for this number it's 50. So 50 divided by 4. 50 divided by 4, what's that going to give us? That's going to give us 12.5. Now we said when you get this 12.5, you come to the cumulative frequency part and look for the number just above it in the cumulative frequency. For this case, it's going to be this 18. So it's just above 12.5. So this is the class that we're going to use for the Q1. So Q1 is going to be equals to L1. We are going to use the one here, it's 59.5 plus, open the bracket, 12.5 minus cumulative frequency before this class, it's 8, out of the frequency within this class, which is 10, times the class interval, which is 10. So here we have, this is 59.5 plus, remember this is going to go with that, so this is 4.8. So here we end up getting Q1 is equals to 64.3. Now let's go to Q3. I hope this makes sense. Let's now go to Q3. So finding Q3, we are going to say L1. What is L1? Before we actually do anything, we're supposed to first come and get 3 out of 4. To avoid confusion, let me change the color of the pen. We'll say 3 out of 4 N. This is going to be 3 out of 4 times 50. What do we get? We get 37.5. When we get this 37.5, we come to the cumulative frequency, we'll see which number is just above 37.5. For this case, this is the class we are going to use because of this 42. So Q3 is going to be, L1 is going to be 69.5 plus 3 out of 4N, which is 37.5, minus the cumulative frequency before, which is 18, out of the frequency within, which is 24, times 10. I hope this is making sense. So we have this is 69.5 plus, remember I told you that we have to break this down to reduce the room for making an error, out of 24 times 10, preferably you first do this, then you add that. So we are going to get 77.625 as our Q3. Now something small, let me not write it. We have something called an interquartile range. We said it's Q3 minus Q1. So here we can actually find it by saying this is going to be 77.625 minus 64.3. What do you get? You get 13.325. This is the interquartile range. Then you have something called a semi interquartile range, it's Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2. So it's going to be equals to, we already have Q3 minus 2 and being 13.325 out of 2. It's going to be 6.6625. So this is a semi. I'm just writing abbreviation because of this, but you're supposed to write it in full form. Now, another thing we should note is even if we were to use the algebras we are going to see in the near future, we are going to say Q3 we get it from the graph, Q1 we get it from the graph, and we do the same thing. So it's the same procedure after that. Quartile from the graph, then we should be able to find the interquartile range and the semi-interquartile range. So that marks the end of quartiles. Now I'm going.